he's doing. Somewhere in between there, we might do a live session. I don't know. We'll see. It's been a while since we've been on Score 40 for the live, so we'll try to see if we can do that. But thank you everybody for being on. We appreciate you. I won't be on as long today. I'm gonna try and see if we can at least be finished with the speaking portion of this around 9:40ish p.m. 9:40 a.m. Eastern New York time today, so we can continue to get on the road. So it won't be as long, but prayerfully it'll be something that blesses you where you are. And I won't be on Facebook or the podcast for today, at least not for a minute. We won't be able to upload this, so I will try to put on Facebook where people, if they would like to, they can go ahead and still listen in to what Yah's doing with us here, even if they won't be able to join us live. At least they can be able to see what's going on and participate in what Yah has for us. Praise Yah. So I do apologize for that for those who will be coming on and listening on Facebook later on and possibly on the podcast later on. I will not be able to put that up for you guys, but how you are right now live. But anyways, let's get into this. How you guys doing? I am Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servant of Christ. As I said earlier, we're continuing this series called This System is Sus. And when we say that this system is sus, means it's suspect. There's some things in there that are loose, that are frustrating, that don't make sense, that don't add up with what you're being taught in schools, etc. And for this whole week, to end this series, we're ending, especially going into Father's Day. I was led by the Holy Spirit to be able to talk specifically to our fathers. So this week, we're talking about a call to fathers. So we have a series within a series. If you're looking for this series, at some point, we will separate it, but not separate it. We'll make sure that you can find it in either The System is Sus or even be able to find it in the playlist by itself, literally called A Call to Fathers. Right? Today, in part 5, today in part 5, I would like to be able to discuss specifically in our call to fathers. Today in part 5, I would like to be able to specifically talk about the need for wives and mothers. Yes, I know this is a call to fathers. This is part 5. If you haven't noticed, we have talked about our sisters as well and making sure that we uplift our sisters, of course, because that's part of the job of a father, right? But today I want to talk about the need of a wife and a mother, because one of the things that's missing in all this is that we have a society that tells us to be men, right? But denigrates what manhood is. And then at the same time tells our sisters to be the best versions of themselves, but doesn't talk about their need. Because watch this. If we believe, now this is the Ankh principle. This is, both sides of the equation, right? This is both of us coming together. Right. And hello to everybody on, by the way. I'm sorry I didn't do our normal start off meet and greet. We're starting a little, or I don't have as much time as I normally do. So please forgive me. Right. If we're dealing with something where if we're telling sisters you don't need a man, and brothers only, are using sisters as something to be discarded, right? I need you to ask yourself something. Can two become one like that? For those of you who believe in like the Ankh principle, can that be a thing? Right? Can two become one with this? Right? And let me do our rundown real quick. How you doing, Sister Nadine? How you doing, Sister Dawn? How you doing, Brother Charles? How you doing, Yosef? Is it Pipiri Pit? Papiri Pie? Got a dog that just came in. Dog running around. How you doing, Sister Night? How you doing, Joseph? How you doing, Big Brother Thomas? How you doing, Sister Monica? How you doing, Tori? How you doing, Minister Joseph? Yeah, she was nice. Yeah, I had to make sure though, because that was a rock. You can't play with a rock. So I didn't know if I needed to be ready to fight or not. Praise God that she's nice though. How you doing, Ratchet? How you doing, Sister Rhea? How you doing, Mystical Monique? Sister Toya, Minister Joseph, Auntie Marion, everybody. Sister Keita, Philip, already. Thanks for being part of the community, Philip. How you doing, Brother Alton? How you doing, Charles? If I didn't say so already. Okay, so so now that I had to watch that. I didn't know where anyways, so where was I at? Oh, so we have this thing that's going on to where women don't think that they need men, men don't think that they need women. But even if we're talking about the Ankh principle, right? Even if we're talking about the Ankh principle, We're talking about what? The two have to become one. There's a word in the Bible that helps us. And we got to realize that if woman comes out of man, if that's your belief system, right, it's ours. But if it's maybe it's is yours or is not. But if woman comes out of man, right, the Most High said that it is not righteous, it is not correct, it is not constitutional, or you would say it is not good, right? But it is not constitutional, it is not the will of Yah that man would be alone. That word alone literally means to be all in one. It is a compound word. All in one. That's what alone is, to be all in one. It is not righteous. It is not constitutional. It is not viable for him to be all in one. Well, if you have come out of man and the two are supposed to become one, then it is not constitutional for you to be all in one either. Correct? How you doing, Sister Renee? How you doing, Earl? How you doing, Minister Tamara? So it is not righteous for us to be all in one. And in a call to fathers today, right, I need us to see the necessity of a wife, of a mother, right? It's interesting that you see the necessity of your daughter, but we don't sometimes see the necessity of a mother or a wife. But every wife has to be a daughter, including even spiritually, because if one desires, this is what your word says in 1 Timothy chapter 3, if one desires the office of a pastor, of a kohelet, of a rabbi, of a leader of an environment, which would be your home, your immediate family, then you desire an excellent work. However, what's the first qualification? If you desire to be a pastor, what's the first qualification that it lists there? In this context, so I'm not saying there's no place that talks about women leadership or women pastors. In this particular context, if you desire the office of a pastor, it says you desire a great work. This is 1 Timothy chapter 3. But it says you must first be what? Somebody help me. If you desire the office of a pastor, you desire an excellent work. That's a work that you're called to. Great. Continue to do that. If you desire the office, if you desire to use your official capacity as a pastor, the gift that you have, to make sure that that office is having something that resonates, having to do with you, you desire an excellent work. Now, what is the problem? What's the next step? What does it say comes next? It says, but first you must be, thank you, you must be the husband of one wife, right? That's the first part. That's the first thing that we talk about as far as qualification. First things first, you must be the husband of one wife. She's going to help you because you're going to become one. She's going to help you because she's going to multiply some things. She's going to help you because you're going to give direction, but she's going to lay down the law. How you doing, Brother Vincent? Now, here's where this is tricky for many of us, if we be honest. Here's where this gets tricky for many of us, if we just would be honest. Okay? In our diaspora, especially in this, what people are calling new Hebrew movement, let's just have an honest conversation, right? In this new Hebrew movement, this Black Hebrew Israelite movement, whatever you want to call it. Thanks for being part of the community, Dalton. Question for you. How many of our brothers are preaching as pastors or leaders or rabbis or starting their own thing? And how many of them are married? How many of them are one with their wives the way they're supposed to be? Oh, how you doing, babe? My wife is on the Honorable Mind. Vindington, you know that's going to go ahead and get you banned, because even if nobody else knows what you're talking about, that's kind of despicable. You have a great day, though. Right? Crazy. All right. Anyways, I had to block that one myself. I normally don't catch those. I normally don't block, but that one that one got my attention. That's what they wanted. Praise y'all. How you doing, Stephen? Oh, Stephen, I still got it. Oh no, I did give you a call. I got to give you a call back. Okay. But once again, well, if it's buffering today, I'm sorry. I don't know. I'm not gonna be able to do much about it. I only got one signal with me today, so I do apologize if it's buffering for everybody else. It is what it is. I'm sorry. This is gonna be the best that we got today. We're dealing with straight phone signal, no Wi-Fi right now. So, but yes, as we continue to go through this, we have to realize that a lot of people trying to be all in, or trying to do this all in one, but it is not righteous for you to be all in one. If you're going to be the leader of a family, if you desire the office of a pastor, right, you desire excellent work, but you must first be the husband of one wife. You cannot do this all in one. I'm not saying that you can't be called to pastoring. You said the signal is really bad. I apologize. I don't know. It's telling me that I got a green light. I don't know what to do. Maybe you want to try and come over to YouTube. I don't know what to do. I don't have a signal. I don't have another signal I can use. So sorry guys. But is it bad on YouTube? Can you not see me at all? Can you not hear me at all on YouTube? Can nobody hear me? Can nobody see me? It's telling me I got a green light over here, but I guess you guys are saying that it's off. Is it? Can anybody here see me? Yes, no, maybe so. You're fine on YouTube, okay? It's interesting because I'm using the TikTok. I'm using what I'm using for TikTok to be the signal for where we use it on YouTube. So I don't know. I hate to tell everybody to get off of TikTok, but it just might be. I apologize. I'm just gonna have to deal with what I got. It's blurry. Okay, so yeah, it's just a bad signal. I don't know what to tell everybody. This is the best I got today. Okay. How you doing, Minister Moselle? So hopefully you get enough of the message wherever you are. Hopefully you get enough of the message wherever you are, however you're listening. How you doing, Brother Allen? Be safe out there on the roads. How you doing, Brother Jermaine? Everybody who's coming on. The Tina. All right, thanks for being part of the community. Appreciate you. So here we go again. Well, Tina, I guess. How you doing, Sister Sage? So when we're speaking on this, it's not righteous for man to be all in one. It's not righteous for him to be all in one. If you desire the office of a pastor, you desire an excellent work, but he must first be the husband of one wife. Right? These are things that are there. How you doing, Minister Shante? Right? So these are things that are there. So hopefully, no matter what's going on with it, hopefully you can hear all right. Okay. But if you desire this, you desire the office, you must be husband of one wife. It is not righteous for you to be all in one. So your ministry, right, or your ministry, your calling, your business, your house will never be what it's supposed to be if you try to do everything all in one, all by yourself. Your thought processes will never mature fully if you think that all thought is only from you by yourself. And you have a helpmeet, somebody who's required by their destination, by their designation, right, rather, as a wife, required to multiply you. She is signed up to multiply you. And a lot of times we have issues with this where we're like, man, this is bad, this and that, whatever, right? I don't like this. I don't like when she talks. She's always over talking. She's always not trying to comprehend. She's always has something to say. Sometimes that's because she's trying to see the vision plainly so that she can help to multiply it. I'm not saying that there's some sisters that are not just coming at you, talking at you, or whatever, dealing with some Willie Lynch type issues, right? But there are some times where we have to be honest about what the multiplication, that she's there to multiply. And before she can multiply, right? Before she can multiply, she has to identify with the vision, with the mission. This is why we say all the time that a man without a mission is a dangerous man, right? How you doing, Sister Nadine? This is why we say all the time, a man without a mission is a dangerous man. We want a wife to be in submission, submit to the man, but the man is not required to have a mission. And this makes it very difficult to deal with us when we won't admit to the fact that we are without mission. We must be mission-oriented, vision-oriented, right? But there's a necessity of a wife and a mother. Also, too, like I said, she also must be a daughter as well. Why would we say that she should be a wife? Right. First of all, she is a woman, and we must recognize her place and what she does for us as a woman. She is a woman. She is a wombed man, coming even from your womb. The only thing that's come from your womb, so to speak, right? Your innermost part, right? She is a woman, right? But she's gone to a higher place. If you found a wife, he who finds a wife finds a righteous thing and obtaineth favor from Adon. If you found a wife, she's gone in our culture, she's at a higher level than woman. Right? It's like you can both be team members on the same team, but the project manager is on a higher level, right? Than the person that might just be in IT. Right? Like the project manager can have IT skills, but is higher than the IT because the IT is not the person that's managing the project. They're helping on the project. Well, the same thing in our culture. If she's a woman, she helps in the community. But a wife is another level than woman. In our culture, you're a woman. You can be a woman at 15, 16. Right? In our culture, you can be a woman at 15, 16. That's great. Respect the woman in her. But when you get to the level of wife, and that means even before you're married, see, so there's levels to it. There's the woman, and then there's the wife who's married to Yah. Then there's the wife who's married to the male, right? And then there's a mother. And then mess around and get to grandmother, great grandmother, great great grandmother. Right now, you've got some status in our community. We respect the one who does it righteous and has more status and is our elder. We respect our elders. Right? How you doing, Sister Deborah? Now, why am I saying all this? What does this have to do with men? What does that have to do with fathers? Right? But fathers are supposed to be what? Abba, Abba Yah is ultimately first and foremost our father. He is also our source, right? He is also our protection. He also is what cultivates us. He also is our strength. When the two become one, why is it that we are looking even for strong, independent women and then getting mad when we get women that are strong and independent? Now, I don't mean this to be a taunt or something to deny you or something to be able to use it ad hominem against thee, right? I'm saying I am saying that we have women who have been trained for years now, for decades now, for 60, 70 years now to start labeling themselves as strong and independent. But really, that's something that goes back to the 1500s, definitely 1712. We have written out documentation of it from December 25th, 1712, Willie Lynch letter. But we have something that goes back hundreds of years that tells our sisters when they were taken out of their system, where they were protected by their own men, where they were secured and given affection by their own kings, by their own fathers, by their spiritual fathers, physical fathers, emotional fathers, and by Abba Yah, they were taken out of that and they were told to make their father. I don't, some of y'all aren't gonna want to hear this today, but let's keep it a buck. They were told to make their father their colonial masters. You might use the term white man, this, that, whatever, but that's what they were told. And their husbands were no longer husbands. They could be physical fathers, but not spiritual. They were not supposed to cover. They were supposed to be on the bottom now, to be afraid of Massa, to do labor for Massa. And if Massa told them to breed children, which is how you get brothers out there that had 200 children during this time. People say all this time, you guys go too far. No, there's evidence, there's books, there's pictures of these men who were supposed to be so tall and so strong, right? Because of my height, right? I probably would have been considered to be good stock, and I probably would have been used a lot for breeding. That's how they would have thought of me. They wouldn't have cared about my mind. They wouldn't have cared about if I wanted to be a husband of one wife. They wouldn't have cared if I wanted to, try to jump the broom. They wouldn't have cared if that wasn't my heart. That's what they decided at that moment. So you had a bunch of brothers who, if you qualified for certain things, right? If you were smart, went ahead and they let you make inventions for them, but you could never say anything about them. If you were somebody who was very passive, you could go ahead and be in the house. If you were somebody that was big and strong, you could go ahead and you could sire children. If you had big hips, you can go ahead and have children with these people as well as they would put their own seed and have children with you, so they could have a mix of different children, so that there was so much infighting against one another that you wouldn't fight against Master. They did this stuff on purpose. How you doing, Sister Deja? Right? How you doing, Sister Sherry? Candace Owens says this all the time: strong, independent women is dangerous, not good. Hey, Candace Owens is right about some things. We do this weird thing where these people can't be right about anything. She's right about some things. This whole thing about talking about she needs an apology from the Black community because of Black Lives Matter. Not all Black people were with Black Lives Matter organization, but we believe that Black Lives Matter. But nevertheless, yeah, she can be right about some things. For sure. Right? For sure. Right? But can you see there's some problems in our mindset, in our thought process, in our thinking? You said your grandfather had 30 and they're still locating us. Right? We come from that. Unfortunately, we can break the curse today. All right, how you doing, Anna or Anna? Not sure which one you go by. Right, but we come from some of this, and so we, as men, we're trained that all we were supposed to do is work hard, make sure we made massa proud, and make sure that we bred children. And this is why you have a lot of our people who have come from places to where grandmama and granddaddy didn't have to speak love languages. Even if they needed them, even if they were angry with each other, they still stayed with each other because they loved each other, but they didn't know how to have conversation one with the other. Yes, we can break the curse, and you can break the curse today, right? But you can start a process. I know somebody's like, you're going to break it today, and I'm not coming against it. I'm really big. I get into microcosms. I get into like every single individual word. I'm into etymology like that. So I just want you to know I'm not coming at you when I say this, right? So you can break the curse today, but it's a process. And as I said yesterday, when we talking about these angry fathers, we have not started a process of even dealing with the psychology of what makes them angry. You're talking about men who come out of buck breaking. I know you want to hear that, right? But this you're dealing with people who were emasculated heavily. And thank you, babe, for that. Appreciate it. How you doing, Prince? So you're dealing with stuff that is dealing with emasculation, right? You're dealing with stuff where people were put on, men and women, of course, right? Were put on trees after church services. I'll say it like that. How you doing, Sister Irina? Like you're dealing with some stuff that hasn't been gone through, and there's an anger, and then now you're dealing with stuff where the fathers, as Deuteronomy 28 verse 54 told us, the fathers are unprepared, they become super delicate, and now they've started looking at each other with a side eye, have looked at their wife with a side eye, and basically have given up on their children. So they can't, because in their mind they're not ever going to be successful. See, and if you're not a success, it means you don't have successors. What you're doing is not going to last. That's why you train up a child, because you need a successor. How you doing, Brother Henry? How you doing, Michael? Right? This is why you need successors, because you need to be a success. In order for us to be successful, full of success, we must be full of successors. And we're not going to make successors without men and women coming together. This is a call to fathers, but obviously everybody can listen in on this, because we're all, watch this, because all of us have fathers, create fathers, and support fathers, hopefully support fathers. Physically, emotionally, spiritually, in training, whatever the case. My son is not a father. He's not in a position to be a father. He will not be in position to be a father for many more years, but he's still a father in training. And therefore, as I do things, as I train, as I walk, I must always operate with a mindset that even though he's just a 7-year-old, he still must also think about I must think about the fact that one day that's a father. I'm sowing into a father right now. How you doing, Kiara? I'm sowing into a father right now. When I sow into the woman that's going to give birth to a son, I'm sowing into a father. It's not righteous for us to think about this. It's not righteous for man to be all in one, to be alone. I will make for him a helpmeet. Today we're talking about the necessity of the wife, of the mother, of the daughter, and yes, of the woman. How do you train a father without the love of a mother? Come on, somebody. Let's stop making it super mystical. Let's make it practical for a little bit. And I don't have as much time as I normally would. So we don't have time to really go as in depth as what we might normally go, right? But we're gonna make sure we get this stuff out here, right? How do I, as a father, you hear what I'm saying? How do I, as a father, do what I'm supposed to do? Right? And train up a father without a mother. First of all, it's impossible, because the mother must give birth. She must bear a child. Right? Secondly, she must be able to breastfeed the child. Thirdly, then she must help in the weaning process to help him not to be a mama's boy, while still giving him the mother's affection, so that he will know what it is that his wife is going to need, because the first wife that he's going to see is going to be a spiritual wife called his mother. You said my voice has gotten deeper? I don't know. I think it's been like this for a while, but maybe it's deeper today. I don't know. Right? But she must be what? She must be present. She must be present. She must be present. You hear what I'm saying? We are sitting up here talking about fatherhood without recognizing that there is no father without a mother. There is no mother without a father. The two must become one. And when they become mother and father, the two must come together and leave their mother and father and cleave. How you doing, Sister Mignon? You hear what I'm saying? Right? Are you so we have this false thought process that many of us men are carrying around that, hey, go ahead, do all this stuff. Look, yes, in our culture, this is how we raise men, ages 0 to 3, right? That means when you're in the womb as well as your first 3 years, right? But ages 0 to 3, you are trained that you're a boy. Next 3 years, ages 4 through 6, you are trained that you are that you to be weaned from your mother, not necessarily off of her bosom, right? But to not be a mama's boy. Why? Because ages 7 through 9, you were supposed to be trained by your father. You were his apprentice, right? Ages 10 through 12, we're going to give you serious education now, because ages 13 through 15, we're going to train you on what it is to be an adult male, which is means ages 16 through 18. Now we're going to train you on what it is to be a husband. Once we trained you on that and this community verifies you are a male and a husband, adult male and a husband, then through our standard, the community is going to train you on what it is ages 19 through 21 to be a father. Once you are that, we give you your inheritance and we say, go out there and continue what your father has done, continue what your family has done, so that you can continue to make sure that you're doing things correctly. And while you're out there in your work, you will come across a lot of women, but don't go for a woman, go for what? Go for a wife. Go for not a woman, go for a what? A wife. How you doing, Sister Latoya? It's important that you know the distinction. It also means that we must be training up not women, but wives. Just like we have to train up husbands and fathers from when they're born, we must also make sure that we're training up mothers. Wives and mothers, right? Even from the time that they are born. So when you find a wife, you find a righteous thing. He who finds a wife, how you doing, Emmanuel? Thanks for being part of the community. He who finds a wife, right, finds a righteous thing. I'm not looking for a woman. It's a different cultural thing. I see. The problem is that many men are looking for girlfriends. First of all, you're not even looking for women. You're looking for a girlfriend. My brother, right? That's not what we're doing out here. If I get a girl mentality, then I should expect a girl mentality. An immature mentality is an imperfect mentality. The word perfection is talking about maturity. So you're dealing with imperfections. By the way, everybody comes with some imperfections, but a wife is trained different than a girl. That's why when you go down south, they're gonna tell you, "Oh, you and your little friend." What do they mean when they say you and your little friend? They mean you and your little friend. They're saying, "Oh, you and your friend. Like y'all ain't really what y'all supposed to do. Y'all doing stuff, but it's not really cool." That's what they're saying. Hey, how you doing, brother Eugene from the D? Feel like it's been a while. Hopefully you've been doing well. Right? But a lot of people, they want their little friend. They don't want a wife. You want your little friend. You don't want a husband. But this is a call to fathers. If I'm going to be the priest and prophet of my own home, I'm not looking for a little friend. I'm looking for a wife. And I'm not, by the way, I'm not looking, right? I'm married to the greatest wife to ever exist, right? How you doing, Sister Aliens? Long time no talk to you. Feels like hope all has been well, right? But see, we're so busy in the girlfriend boyfriend department that we're not looking for adult male, husband, father, adult female, wife, mother. You're supposed to be pre-qualified as those things. You hear what I'm saying? Just like you're supposed to be qualified before you get behind the wheel of a car. You're supposed to be qualified before you can cut heads. You're supposed to be qualified before you do tattoos. You're supposed to be qualified before you put people in the salon chair. You're supposed to be qualified before you study, before you administer law. You're supposed to be qualified before you administer drugs. You're supposed to be qualified before you get married. But it's the only thing in this culture. I won't say the only thing, but one of the only things that you don't have to be licensed in. Or you don't have to be trained to receive a license. Rather, all you have to do is register with the state. You keep registering yourself out to the public and letting people trade your stuff and make money off of your marriage, instead of having private contracts and realizing with your culture, with your nation privately, what are we supposed to do when it comes to marriage? How you doing, good sissy? Messiah. I see you. I mean, I'm sorry. I see you, DB. How you doing, Mustard Seed? Shalom. Peace. Right? And so every husband is in need of a wife. I know wives need husbands too, right? We're two becoming one. But I'm talking specifically today, right? This week really is to the husbands, to our fathers, as we get ready for Father's Day. Yeah, a lot of people just get married for marriage sake. We've been going out for a long time. I guess we might as well get married. Or she says, look, I can't keep doing this with you if you're not going to marry me. And he says, I don't want to lose her. But see, you have a mindset of not trying to lose, rather than I should have never thought of anything other than death do us part. See, it's a dating mentality. That's why we talk so much about dating being dangerous. Nowhere in your Bible does it say anything about people going out on dates, because you're supposed to be trained on husbands and wives. If you're not going to get married to the person, what is the point of the relationship? But I'm going, Pastor, you don't comprehend. I've been going out with them for 5, 10 years. We're trying to see if we can last for the rest of our lives. Look, there's some things you should be able to tell if you're trained right after 5, 10 minutes. Uh-oh. I ain't lying. There's some things you should be able to see after 5, 10 minutes. But you're not asking the right questions because you don't think about being all in one. Watch this. As a wife, if you are a wife qualified, right, before marriage, if you are a wife, you should be asking for a resume from the beginning. And your resume shouldn't only include what's your credit, how much money you make, do you look great in the suit, and do you make me feel good? Good, right? Your resume should be deeper than that. First and foremost, hey, what is your branch? Or what is your kingdom that you come from? What is your nation? What is your culture? Some of you would say, what is your tribe? What is your branch that you come from? How do they operate over there? Don't get mad when you get with a brother that's full of himself, but you didn't realize you married a Nigerian. That's what they are. And by the way, it's not in their culture, they're not full of themselves. That's just how they operate. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't be mad at a Nigerian for being what Nigerians are, right? Don't get mad if you marry somebody and out of all of their tribe, I'm talking about different branch now, or different people or different culture, whatever, right? You can't get upset if you marry somebody and these people are murderous and they like to role play and play ways to where they make you out to be a slave, and then all of a sudden you lay down to have sexual relationship with them, and they say, hey, they want to role play and make you out to be a slave. That's what you signed up for. That should be one of the first questions. But we think that that's racist or classist or whatever, chauvinist. No, that's real. What's your culture? How you doing, y'all, son? What's your culture? What they do in your family? What are you? Somebody says, "Oh, see, you can't love me for me because you don't." No, no, I need to love you for you. So exactly, I need to know what your culture is. You should ask me, what assembly do you come from? What kingdom do you come from? What nation do you come from? How you doing, Juanetta? Some of y'all will even ask when you go out on your dates, what do you say? What state you from? Where you from? They say a state that you're not familiar. Ooh, I don't like them N word from there. Right? That's what you say in your mind because it's important. It's relevant. Every father should know what his wife's culture is, and what the mother of his children's culture is, and the culture of his daughter. And matter of fact, this is why it's important. See, because we say all the time, what y'all call race is not about your race, right? It's about your culture. This is why the Bible says anyone who gets into this law and into this culture, they should be grafted in. Why should they be grafted in? They should be grafted in because they're experiencing the same culture that you are. They're going through the same cultural things that you're going through. I'm gonna have to move for a second because this sun, we got overheated yesterday when we were doing the shout out at the end. And I don't want to get overheated again. Let me move back some. Oh, excuse me, y'all. I apologize. I don't know if I bought us too much time, but we're not going to be on that long. Unfortunately, I have to do these outside of the sun. If I don't do these outside of the sun, or with the sun not bearing down on me, then the sun will overheat the devices and we won't be able to get too far. I apologize. We've been having to do a lot of moving and stuff already today. When you're on location, sometimes it works out perfect, and sometimes you got to do a lot of moving. That's okay, though. Right? Hopefully everybody can still hear me. All right. I know y'all were saying the signal was already bad, but prayerfully you can still hear me okay. Yeah, I know I did like to shine through the trees, but I started looking at the device. I was like, man, the sun's hitting it. Right? You said my culture is Black Americans, right? What is Black American? And how are you doing, Charmaine? Welcome to you, first of all. We should probably start off with that. But what is Black American? And no shade. I want us to think this through properly because we don't think it through. What is Black American? What does that mean? When did you become Black? Right? And I have no problem with the term Black, by the way. I just want you to realize, think about it. See, the word American, there's two Americans, number one. So if you're talking about the first American, then yeah, from my father's side, I'm American. Because the original definition of American is a copper-colored person indigenous to the Americas. So, yeah, my father's side, I am that. If you're talking about the African portion or the Black American or whatever you want to call it, well, then I'm Shwi, right? And Shwi, which is Yashta Al also, coming over through what you might call Jamaica or Taino or Ottawa or whatever, right? Omekshi even mix as well, going into like even with my father's side, now you're dealing with also some Anakitawaya, or even if we be honest, there's some Gullah mix in there as well. So I don't look at America, the modern America. There's two Americas. The first American is considered by law, considered to be a person copper-colored indigenous to the Americas by law. The second American are those who basically, when there was a Boston Tea Party, put on blackface and said, now we're the Americans. That's how that happened. Like literally, that's how that happened. So if you want to talk about the original, but once again, before somebody tried to say all of the people in the Americas were one big tribe or one big branch, one big family tree or part of the family tree, I've decided to be who we always were. And I know where we were. Said Black means dead in Black's Law Dictionary. Yeah, to a certain degree. Depends on what version of it, of course, because there's 12 editions. But yeah, it's something that we should be aware of that it does say that, right? But also, too, see, when I say Black, because I'm a non-citizen national, on paper, I would never be Black. But as being a non-citizen national, not a U.S. citizen, I don't worry about those things. I also know where my people come from. I've gone through the process of actually finding out where we are from and actually knowing where we were from, just not caring about it that much until I finally started realizing I can't be who I'm supposed to be if I don't see, like, hey, grandmama, where do we come from? And going back and talking to people and having a chance to travel and meeting my own people. This is part of one of the reasons why we lack. But once again, if you don't think you should be one with a wife, you're definitely not going to think you should be one with your culture. See, the whole wife portion helps you to even be one. And a lot of people don't even think when I'm looking for a wife, I'm looking for a husband, I'm looking for a father of my child, a mother for my child, like their culture matters. We don't even think about that. We just go, I loves you, but there's going to be some stuff that's going to pop up that you need to figure out. Are you prepared for it? Salah. There's stuff that comes with everybody's culture. Now, I would say that there's some false cultures or some false narratives that we have decided that must be our culture. I talked about this yesterday. For example, hip hop culture. We say the hip hop culture is us. We made hip hop, right? And hip hop is 5 facets, right? It's dancing, clothing or fashion, right? Dancing, fashion, DJing, MCing, and and art, whether it's graffiti art or anything else, right? Those are 5 facets of what people would call hip hop. No problem, right? But at the same time, when you did those things, you didn't wear your own clothes. You had to do like people did with the, with the ham hocks and with them pig knuckles and with those, with them guts, right? Them chitlins. You had to take pieces of what was left over, just like you did in the house Negro who got the scraps left on the master's table, right? You had to get whatever was left and make something out of it and then try to say that that was your experience. But that's not your culture. So as much as and look, I appreciate rap. I do. Y'all have heard, some of you have heard some of the music I put up before, right? And people that have helped with them. You said, nuts how? Oh, okay, Stephanie. I didn't get a chance to read your full question. If you're still listening, you were saying something along the lines of not how you deal with something multicultural or this and that or whatever. Once again, culture is something that you have to deal with. So even if you're multicultural, if you didn't hear what I was saying, once again, right? Multicultural is still a culture. It's still a bunch of things that come together, right? Okay, she's gone. So let me just go ahead and explain before somebody else says the same thing, because you don't get it. Multicultural. If I'm Yashraal, that means I could talk about being Shwe, I could talk about being Ashanti, I could talk about being Gola, I could talk about being Gullah, I could talk about being Anakitoboya, I could talk about being Choctaw, I could talk about being the original Haitian, I could talk about being North African, I could talk about being Kemet, I could talk about being Kush, because all of these are in me. But as far as bloodline, right? So I had to deal with those things as far as bloodline learning myself, because there's even some DNA memory that's there and some generational curses that I could carry from something else. At the same time, though, no matter what all those multicultural things that are in me, there is only one pervasive culture that works for me, and that is the culture of Yashra'al, because that culture of Yashra'al is something that goes deep. Because as we talked about yesterday, when you have Israel, Israel was once Jacob, and when he was Jacob, Jacob came from Isaac, and when he was Isaac, or when you're dealing with Isaac, Isaac came from Abraham. Abraham came from Tehran, and we go back some. Tehran comes from Pelag, and Pelag comes from Shem. I mean, sorry, from Hebrew or Avada, right? And once we go back some, we'll discover that that Hebrew comes from Shem, and Shem comes from Noah. And if we keep going back before the flood, Noah came from Lamech, and Lamech came from Methuselah. Methuselah came from Enoch. If we go back some, Enoch's going to come from Enos, and Enos going to come from Canaan, and Canaan's going to come from Seth, and Seth is going to come from Adam. And see, so when I'm talking about a culture, I'm talking about a culture that goes back to Adam, right? Focusing on that rather than the ones that branched off and people started worshiping themselves or what they wanted rather than the Most High. So yes, I can be multicultural as far as even certain things that I give, but my ultimate culture, the umbrella, is something that is universal, because the word universe means universe, a single spoken sentence. And therefore, if I'm talking about a single spoken sentence, I must be talking about Barashat bara Elaham at Shamiam at Aratz, or what you call, in beginning Elaham created the heaven and the earth. Anything that comes out of that sentence is my culture, which means I have to be of the culture of the kingdom. For I wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, right? That means origins or kingdom origins. Therefore, if I'm going to talk about the universal law, I must go right back to the beginning, which means that the ultimate culture I'm worried about is the Most High's culture. There are reference points that I can use to reflect certain things going on that come out of man-made titles, or hey, because even when we say we speak Hebrew, we're saying that we come from a person and this is what they spoke. But it does not mean that Hebrew is my ultimate goal, because I have to go back past Hebrew to get to the beginning. Just because we say we are Israel doesn't mean that Israel is the end all be all of everything, because I've still got to go back past Israel to get to the origin of the kingdom of heaven. So when I'm talking about culture, this is why, once again, in my culture, see, this is cultural. If you're so busy trying to be multicultural, meaning that I can do whatever I want, which is what people use multicultural to really mean, is that, hey, we're going to identify everything that everybody does. Look, there's some people that come from Mexico, and they love being Mexicano, Mexicano or Mexicana, right? They love it. However, they're not going to say, uh, me gusta, or me encanto, or me gusta or me encanto Dia del Muerte. Why? Because they don't want to be part of the day of the dead. Why would we worship the dead or get into necromancy? So just because somebody might be Mexicano doesn't mean that they say me encanto Dia del Muerte. Now, if they do, that's a culture of Roman Catholicism that they were continuing, but that's not their culture that they want to go ahead and present. So it might be something that they were raised around, but it doesn't ultimately have to be the culture they subscribe to. Can you see the difference? Because people go into this multicultural thing, not realizing that, hey, I still got to be honest about each and every culture. Just like in Israel, there's some people that came out of Kemet. And guess what? When people came out of Kemet, what did you do? You built a golden calf. That was a Kemetic nature that was worshipped. And they were putting that above Elohim, who's if the first character in our culture in the Aleph Ba'it or the Aleph Ba'it or the Aleph Bet, the first character you're going to see is going to be Aleph, which is the father, which also looks like a bull. So they were saying that we're going to take a Kemetic bull, right, and we're going to put it above the bull that is Yahweh, right? Culturally, there's something going on there. These people knew enough about Yahweh to put blood on the doorpost and come out of Kemet with us, but they were still carrying some wild stuff. So I've got to know the culture enough. So I have to know the culture enough to be able to see what's going on. You see that? I have to know the culture enough to see what's going on. Sorry for this noise, y'all. Got a spider trying to get away. I do not do spiders. That thing had to go. All right. You said, so when were we free to split up? Split up from what? I don't know what you're talking about. When were you free to split up from what? From truth? From culture? When are you free to split up from something that is culturally not relevant or something that might be messing with you and cursing you? I'm not sure. Right? But I'm saying all this once again, see, we got to get back on track. I don't have as much time as I normally would. Let me be obedient. Let me be obedient. At the end of the day, I have to still be what? I have to be in line with Yah's will. And I have to be a father based upon our standard. And in our culture, you're not going to make it that much, brother, without not learning what it is to be a husband and a father and respect a mother and a wife. Okay, Solomon, thank you for being on. All right, make sure you're paying attention and not just typing for the sake of typing, but thank you for being on, sir. Right? You said each other that could not understand each other. I don't know the each other. I'm talking about when are you free to just leave your spouse? Well, that's the thing that we'd have to talk about. I'm not sure where you're going with it. No offense, see, I'm just not catching it. But but thank you for being on. I'm just not catching it. I apologize. How you doing, Uno Nuno? So, right, I need a wife. I need a mother. It's imperative. This is a call to fathers, according to our culture. I can't speak for everybody else's culture. And some of you guys believe you don't need a mother or a father, or you believe a mother can be whatever you want it to be, a father can be whatever you want it to be. In our culture, we have specific need of these things, of these items. Yah has given us a specific need for this. You said we were freed from slavery and then we split up from each other, is what I mean? What, from husband and wife? Or from each other? Or not knowing who we were in slavery? I apologize. I know it's just a little bit you can type. It's hard for me to catch sometimes what people are saying, right? I'm not saying you're wrong or I'm right or whatever. I'm having a tough time. But yeah, I mean, because even this term Negro, people forget that Negro could be a native or it could be somebody who was what you try to call now, some of you try to call now African American. You said your thing is we were designed to need each other, so now we playing and changing this design. Very much so. No problem, Wolf Dog. Like I said, I think you might be on point. I'm just not catching what you're saying. I just want you to know that. So keep asking. I promise you, like I'll get the flow of stuff. We all know each other and stuff, not just virtually, but also in person. But also like it's a flow of conversation thing. So it might take me a minute to catch your conversation, but I appreciate it, or the way you converse, rather. Right. But we have to get to this place where we need, right? Not just want. Do you need this? See, a lot of you want things that you don't need, and a lot of you need things that you don't want. That's a word right there. Holy Spirit, she spit a bar. How you doing? Not today. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it. Not sorry, not today. Right? But see, a lot of you need things that you don't want. A lot of you want things that you do not need. You claim that you do not want a spouse. And look, some people are not called to have a spouse. I'm not saying everybody has to have one, right? But you claim you don't need a wife, right? But you want the sex. You want the child. You want the house to be taken care of. You want somebody to be submissive, even though we don't know what that term means, because remember, we're not in submission, we're in submission. That means you have to have a mission for her to submit to, but you just want her to be submissive to a man. You want submission, not submissive, not submission, right? How you doing, Brother Anthony? Right? But you claim you don't want a wife, you don't want a woman, at least not until you got your bread up. This is the new high value man stuff that's coming out now. Even to the point to where people are saying, hey, young brothers, go out and get vasectomies. This for educational purposes only. I am not telling any young brother to do this. I'm just simply telling you the rhetoric that's out there, that's being spewed, and the vitriol that's going to cause some real damage in our community if we keep listening to it. Right? Amen, Mariana. Mariana. Not sure how you pronounce it. Right. And yeah, they want dormant, but hear what I'm saying. So you want to have sisters, and this is what you do. This is why now a lot of 40, 50-year-old men are trying to see if they can get 20-year-old girls, 30-year-old at the oldest, and then saying anything above that is not high value, because they say, well, I spent all my time. I want you to look at the cognitive dissonance. These young boys who are trying to teach these other boys how to be men are telling you, hey, I built myself up to have this and to have options, have standards, have all this stuff, to be in a position where I can give you whatever you want. I'm 50 years old. You should do whatever I want you to do. Now, they're not married. They can't get a wife, but they're looking for this woman that's going to bow down to what they are. And they're trying to teach women to bend to their will. Meanwhile, though, the woman who's 50 as well, they say she's not of high value because she's older now. She's got too much, so she doesn't think she needs to listen to somebody, stuff like that. It sounds like both of y'all have gotten to a level to where both of you bring a lot to the table. Why would you want to get with the 20-year-old who has nothing to bring, who doesn't know how to cook the same, who doesn't know how to take care of children, who doesn't know how to make you feel wise, who doesn't know how to have a wise conversation, who doesn't have any money to bring to the table to say, hey, let's get our bread up, let's multiply. The only reason why you want the 20-year-old and not the 50-year-old, the 20-year-old, not the 40-year-old, some of y'all so crazy, the 20-year-old, not the 30-year-old, you in your 50s, but you want the 20-year-old is because you want control. You don't want a wife. You don't want a woman. You want a girl. You want a girlfriend, not a wife. But that's why we said you need wives and mothers. And you're trying to make a mother out of somebody that's not qualified to be a wife. See, in our culture, you must be trained to be an adult woman first, adult female. Then you must be taught to be an adult. You must taught to be a wife, and then you must be taught to be a mother. And then you are qualified for a man who finds you to be able to become one with him, if your families are okay with it, because it's bigger than just you. We're talking about generational wealth. We're talking about a culture. We're talking about a community. We're talking about standards. You said, I want what I need to be what I want, and what I want to be what I need. Okay. Took me a minute. I got you. I caught up. Right. You see, and a lot of people, they don't want that. You don't want an actual wife, because a wife might have to tell you some things. Also, too, you don't want a wife because, watch this, your wife will be in submission to the mission to the point to where she won't let you get off mission. A real wife will not let you get off mission. This is for our sisters to hear, too. Real wives don't let their husbands get off mission. I say this all the time. As a husband, there are days that I don't like myself, but I better love my wife. Why? Because that is my mission, to love her, to give action to her, to make sure bills are paid, to make sure that she's not out here hungry. Yeah, I'm sorry. I know people saying the signal's bad. This is all I got for y'all today. I apologize. I'm doing the best I can with the signal. Uh-oh. We just lost the signal. Yeah, I'm doing the best I can with the signal. I don't know if it's because they're blocking it. I don't know if it's the area I'm in. It is what it is. Like, this is one of those things that don't make sense to me, because I'm using this signal for YouTube. YouTube is actually doing better from what people are telling me. YouTube is doing better than TikTok is, but I'm using the signal from here to be able to get the YouTube signal, which means that YouTube should be down. So that seems to be a TikTok issue. But nevertheless, praise y'all. We're going to do the best we can. I apologize. Doing the best we can. Okay? It is what it is. We are on YouTube. If you want to switch over, we're doing the best we can. Right? Prayerfully, it'll come through the best it can. If you need me to repeat something, I'll try my best to. We're not going to be on as long as we normally are. Got to get ready. We're going to be traveling a lot, and I do got to get on the road. So we don't have but so much time left anyways. Right? But hopefully you guys are getting it. Hopefully you guys are with us. How you doing, Romac? right? And thank you. I see you switching over, Sister Marion. Thank you. So here we go, right? So here I am, and I know YouTube's fuzzy, but at least you can hear from what I'm being told. It might be fuzzy, but at least you can hear it. Okay. So here I am dealing with a generation of men who believe that they are supposed to be powerful, but they're not supposed to develop mothers. They're not supposed to develop wives. They're supposed to just get with a woman that is only supposed to be there to be able to give them a child from time to time, right? Now we're getting back into Greco-Roman days. I see you, Sister Tori. And thanks for being part of the community, Mariana. Appreciate you. Right now, we're going back to Greco-Roman times. What do you mean, Pastor? Well, that's what they did in Greece. You had a wife just so that you had somebody that you could have children with, right? She was the queen if you were royalty. She was a duchess if you were a duke, right? Or whatever they would have called that. They wouldn't have, that's later language for later on, right? But if you had status, she got to have status. She got to be the lady, as you got to be the lord and all that, right? But she was only really there to have children, and you got to mess with little boys on the side, or other men on the side, or maybe you were the one that was messed with. That's a different culture. See what I'm saying? The cultures are something we got to talk about. This whole being multicultural thing. You see this whole, I'm being multicultural. What culture are you combining? Be careful. Be careful. Right? People want candles and stuff like that. I'm going to this great cathedral and it must have be lit up with candles. Be careful. That there's some romantic stuff that comes with that you don't know. If you were blocked, TY, then you wouldn't be able to be on. If you mean somebody muted you, what was the truth that you were saying that was so powerful that you needed to execute and come right back in to disrupt everything because everybody hates you so much? I don't understand. But let's start with a hello. Oh, you already got muted, right? Matter of fact, yeah, I don't know what's going on with that, but we can go ahead and just fix that real quick, so I don't have to. Like, if that's the spirit that we're dealing with already, I can go ahead and deal with that. We don't have to worry about that. Right? But you hear what I'm saying? How you doing, Shabbos? Hear what I'm saying, y'all. Hear what I'm saying is that you are dealing with so many different things, right? That have nothing to do with your culture. What is the standard for your wife? That should be something that's within your culture. What is your standard within your culture? What's the standard for your daughter? Oh, okay, Mr. 252. Yeah. So I don't know what's going on. Matter of fact, all the numbers went down. Now it just went up. So I think it's a TikTok thing. It might not even be something on purpose. I think there's something with TikTok going on. So we praise y'all. We'll be back on today. Right. We'll try to make up for it later in the evening. Um, right. But these are the things that we have to realize is that our identity as fathers has been, the world is teaching us that in order to be great fathers, you don't need a great mother. And that doesn't make sense. Amen, Sister Tori. I'm with you. How you doing, Jennifer? Right. In order to be a great father, you hear what I'm saying? In order to be a great father, I must have a great mother and a great father. Now, I'm not saying that I can't come out of it if I didn't have both, but hear what I'm saying? That's the intended order, is it not? Isn't that the order of things, to make sure that there's a mother and a father to teach mothers and fathers? And if I'm going to be a great father to my children, should I not have a great mother? Matter of fact, can I be a father of a child without a mother? It is not wise. It is not great. It is not constitutional. It is not righteous that a man would be alone. We come right back to the beginning and where we started. It is not positive. It is not righteous. It is not correct for a man to be alone. What does the word alone mean again? The word alone is a compound word. It means to be all in one. Yes, brother. Yes, brother, you have the ability to preach a word. Yes, brother, you have the ability to start the business. Yes, brother, you have the ability to be what the diaspora needs to see. But if you keep being seen alone, all in one. See, Our leader, and I'm not trying to say you got to put all your business out there, but may I be honest with you? We need fathers, spiritual fathers, fathers of movements, physical fathers, emotional fathers, father figures, whatever. We need fathers to start making sure we realize that these children have not seen an example of one. This is why the focal verse for all of these things this week, from Monday through Sunday this week, all of these focus around a specific scripture. Malachi chapter 4 verse 6, which tells us what? That the hearts of the fathers must return to the children, the hearts of the children must return to the fathers, lest Jehovah come and he smite the arats, the earth, with a curse. How you doing, servants of God? Thanks for being on. Right? Unless, like, we need fathers to go back to their natural state. What is the nature of father? If this doesn't happen, the earth is supposed to be cursed. You cannot be surprised when you keep seeing scorched earth and not realizing that there are no fathers. We can't be surprised that the earth is out of position when the father is out of position. We cannot be surprised that the father is out of position when the earth is out of position. Right? I'm bringing back, and remember, before that, you got to go to Malachi chapter 3. What does Malachi chapter 3 says? Bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse. Bring some stuff into storage that fathers can use. This is called inheritance. Bring some love into the storehouse. Why haven't you been tithing love of a father? Bring some kindness for a father into the storehouse. Bring some words of encouragement for a father into the storehouse. But also, fathers, we need our mothers. We need our wives. So guess what you got to do? Bring the encouragement. Bring the security. Bring the affection. How many times do you make it a point to say to your wife? Not have you ever said, I mess up on this too sometimes, right? I mess up on this too sometimes, right? Not have you ever said, how many times do you make it a point to say? Realize the difference again. Not how many times have you said, fathers, husbands, brothers, how many times have you made it a point to say, baby, you sexy. Baby, that's beautiful right there. Baby, I love the color and what it does with the makeup and how it does, your skin and everything. You put that together. Did you do that on purpose, babe? How many times have you made it a point to say, and so in? Yes, how intentional, right? And what is the intent? Right? What is the intent? I was speaking my wife's business over my wife before my wife had a business. I was telling my wife she's gonna be a better speaker than me before she started speaking. I spoke life, not death, because I want a woman who speaks death and life to the right things. So I spoke death and life to the correct things. Oh, you don't want to hear that. But once again, Proverbs 18:22 is where you first go. You always go straight to he who finds a wife findeth a great thing and obtain a favor from a dawn. But you don't want to start off first with, hey, death and life is in the power of the tongue, and those that love it will eat the fruit thereof. Therefore, when you find a wife, right, you find a constitutional thing. Why? Because she speaks death and life to the right situations, right? And therefore, and she loves it. Y'all get to eat off of the fruit. She enacts it. You eat off of the fruit, and therefore you found favor with the Most High, Jehovah. And not just Proverbs chapter 18, verse 22. That's Proverbs 18, 21, and 22. Now go back and read Proverbs chapter 18, start at verse 15, and then read through verse 22, and you'll discover that it has a lot of stuff it has to say about us as well, to make sure that you are ready to receive what you need. Because once again, a lot of people need what they don't want, and a lot of y'all want what you don't need. You need a wife to multiply you. But a lot of y'all are satisfied with just not being accountable. See, lack of accountability leads to lack of multiplication. You don't have to like it, but it's real. Lack of accountability leads to lack of multiplication. Your favorite rapper has to hire an accountant to make sure that they go through what the record companies are doing so they can find out how much money the record companies steal from them, so they can make sure they go back to the record company and threaten them every once in a while. This is how their relationships work. They have to go to the record company that they're under every once in a while and say, hey, if you don't give me what I need, I'm going to sue you. And then the record company says, okay, but they have to hire somebody to account for it. Why? Because if they don't have somebody to help them account for it, then there is no multiplication. So they're only losing millions of dollars and not even realize that they should be millions up, that they should be multiplying. And they think because they're living a better lifestyle than what they used to, they automatically think that therefore they're making the money that they deserve or that's for them. But until I have an accountant, right, who holds somebody accountable, and says, hey, you know that your actual value is this. You should not settle for this. You should not look at people. My wife used to say something, I've said this before. My wife used to say something used to bother the mess out of me until I finally got what she was saying. It bothered the mess out of me because I came from that old churchy mind that, don't give me nothing. Please, it's between you and the Most High. I'm not worthy of your praise. I'm not worthy of your dollar. I'm not worthy of this. I'm so holy that I can live life without any finances coming in. And my wife finally said one day, she said, do you think you deserve to be blessed? And that thing used to, can I use some angry language? It's not cussing, but some of y'all think it's cussing, but forgive me. I know pastors aren't supposed to admit that they think like this, but I'm gonna just use some angry language. I promise I won't cuss at you too much, but it pissed me off to the highest level of festivity. And it bothered me for months when she said it. It bothered me where she could see it for a couple of weeks. I probably spoke on it for maybe a couple of days, but for about a couple months, it really bothered me that she would say such a thing. You said all you did was say shalom on TikTok and you were banned. You know what I mean? This many shift, but you were just made. Well, I'm sorry, Ryan. What was your name? Were you the one that came on and said all I did was tell the truth and I was banned or something like that? If that's the case, we could talk about it at some other time. My information is in the bottom. You can text me. But I don't know. I don't know about I don't know exactly what it was for. Right. So I was at the highest level of being upset, frustrated. And what I finally realized though is what she was saying is, look, I mean, I want to support you, but you can't have no worldwide anything. You can't be part of what Yahweh wants you. You can't be a Levite and not realize that Levites are actually sown into by the people. So if you're going to be a Levite, then you got to start believing it's okay to ask people for financial help. That's what she was saying. She was saying, if you're going to be a Levite, you've taught me enough about the word that you got to believe that it's okay for Yah to bless you. And for years, see, I used to deal with stuff where people would say, like, I would play music and all the time, and I would go all these places, travel, go to multiple services, and maybe, like, I might go to 4 services in a day, play music, and maybe have $15 in my pocket, which I thought was a great deal because at least I could get on the bus and go home. And in my mind, right, the way we were taught, I would say, praise Yah that I'm able to make it home. And I was able to make it to service. And maybe I could go by McDonald's and get some really unhealthy food, but hey, at least he blessed me with food. He didn't have to give me nothing to eat. This is what we talk. This is what we talk like. Don't act like y'all don't talk like that. Don't act like you ain't go to church and that's not what we said. Right? Thank Yah, right, that I'm better than I used to be. But then we out here not realizing that we're not actually better. And somebody tries to call that prosperity. Prosperity means the ability to push. I'm talking about some real stuff. My wife had to say, look, if you're going to be a Levite, bro, your family can't be out here wanting food. We were in a position where we didn't have to do that. But she was saying, look, if some things were to happen and we were to lose some of the finances we have coming in, your whole being a Levite thing ain't going to work if your family can't eat. Amen. Right. Yeah, we were taught not to put value on ourselves and our work and devalue ourselves. Bible says the workman worth is higher, but we say no, don't give them nothing. You hear people all the time, these pastors out here trying to take your money. Look, there are some pastors out here pimping the people, but I'm just saying, if you want a Levite, Levites can't work in the field. That's law. And so I had to start saying to myself, it's got to get to a place where I'm all right. If I'm going to do what a Levite really does, I have to be all right with Yah's will, which is for me to have people sow into me. Give and it shall be given unto thee. Elocham's measure. What does it say? Pressed down. All right, we like that. Shaking together, we like that. Running over, we really like that. But what's the next part? Right? Right? What does it say? What's the next part? Given it shall be given unto thee. Elohim's measure, pressed down, shaking together, running over. What's the next part say? It says, shall human beings give unto your bosom. For with the same measure that you meet shall it be given unto thee. Now, I know the context is not talking about finances there, right? But hear what I'm saying. That's how Yah gives. He's going to give you stuff. Sure, sometimes it's going to be direct. And it's just going to be, oh, wow, yeah, like nobody could have done this but you. But sometimes it's going to be, hey, I give somebody my last $10, but I want to see him eat. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, somebody knocks on my door. Kofi, we just came back from a service. People were giving out food. We have too much. You want some of these fruits? You want some of these vegetables? You want some of this turkey? You got to be better than that. If you don't come on and you're going to start about giving me warnings or whatever, last final whistle of goats, okay. If you're going to give me warnings, you got to actually like bring authority, right? And any authority that you bring, it has to bow down to the authority, the name, the Sham of Yahweh, right? But you got to be better than that, right? We cast that out. Praise Yah. I thought I felt something. It felt like someone was trying to choke me. But we praise Yah for the authority of Yahweh, right? What were we saying? I'm sorry. Where were we at? Yeah. So my wife, I needed her to help me, right? I needed her to help me to realize that it was all right for me to accept help. That somebody might love me enough to bless. Like, let me give you an example of this. And this is before I even met my wife, but let me give you an example. This really blessed me. Yeah, I was doing I eventually would become, they won't officially say I was the interim pastor, but at one point I became the interim pastor. I was the only minister on staff for a while. And I would work closely with the deacons, and the deacons, you know, if you know about how the church is run, deacons and trustees really run the church, and the pastor kind of sort of takes certain positions, but he really don't run nothing, right? Or she doesn't really run nothing. But anyways, the pastor, or I'm sorry, excuse me. I was doing like an interim pastor thing. They told me not to call myself that, but that's basically what I was doing. And I would, do a lot of services. I was like the minister of music, and we had like a pretty nice size congregation, so I was doing a lot. I grew a lot. I was too young to be a pastor. I look back, I say praise God, because in our culture you got to be 30 years old. So I was probably only 25, 26, something like that, right, at the time. And so I was getting a lot of training, being the only minister on staff, and I was talking to a lot of families. I was doing a lot of life coaching and stuff, even if um, I supposedly wasn't the pastor. I was getting a lot of duties like that, and I was preaching sermons. So as well, I would teach the children's. Usually the deacons, I would let them do they would do the adults. I would teach the children and all that and stuff. And there was a child, there was a little girl. I can't remember her name. I can see her face. Starts with an M. I know her name starts with an M. I can't see. This is years ago. This is like 2010, 2000. No, well, maybe even earlier. I'm not even sure. But we're sitting up there, right? We're with this. And well, anyways, so I'm sitting there. I finished preaching a sermon. And this is like, very excellent young woman of Yah, right? She's not even a preteen yet, but she's very excellent. She does everything in excellence. She's always very great. She's always amazing towards people. She's always outstanding, always kind, very pure heart. After the service is over, she walks up to me. She tries to give me $1. She says, "Thank you for the word," tries to give me $1. This was a challenge for me, because where's my mind go? There's a little child. I don't want to be taking her money. I don't know if her parents know about this. I already have a problem when people offer me anything. So I say, no, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Right. And you keep the dollar, you sow it into the kingdom, maybe give it to the church, whatever. Preach a sermon the next week. Little girl comes up to me. Thank you so much, Minister Kofi. You're doing a great work. Right. Hopefully, I hope that you get the pastor job that they're looking for, but you're doing a great work. You really are blessing me. Thank you so much. Tries to give me $1 again. I can't accept it. I'm once again now I'm getting in my holiness, my false holiness, my false equivalency of what holiness is. Thank you so much, baby. But like maybe you can go get yourself something to eat, put it in the church offering. Pray to God. Why do you think that He's asking you to give me this offering? Right? Preach again. She does the same thing. Then I start to do the same thing, and I see in her face she's getting sad now. I didn't notice it the second time until the third time, but I looked back and I said the first time she was kind of like, okay, whatever. Second time she was a little looking at me weird. Third time she started to get sad, and then the Holy Spirit reminded me that you were preaching about giving, and you were preaching that if somebody is worthy, gives you something that blesses you, right? Feel free to give them whatever you can, not just financially, but anything you can. She took it as what you gave was a blessing, and it's $1. You're not robbing the girl blind. Her mama is watching this take place. So her mama is obviously okay with the finances that are coming in or you're giving, and she wanted exactly. She's just trying to sow a seed. That's all she wanted. She just wanted to sow a seed. And so as soon as she started to turn away and I saw she was starting to get sad, I said, you know what? I apologize. You've taught me something these last few weeks that I need to go ahead and be okay with giving. And I'm gonna tell you something. I've been preaching it, and I didn't realize how much I would not receive from people until you just did that, right? And then I told her this. She might not even comprehend the next part, but then I told her on top of that, I said, because you've shown me this with $1, you show me that I probably don't receive a lot of stuff. I probably don't receive correction. I probably don't receive instruction, right? I probably don't receive a lot of different things because if I can't receive $1, I probably don't receive much of anything else. She didn't say much. She gave me a hug, which made me happy, made me feel like, she had forgiven me. And then she skipped along and was a little girl again, right? And then that thing stuck with me and I still fought it, even until my wife had to once again bring it up and had to say, do you really believe it's okay for you to be blessed? Do you think it's okay for people? Like, look, it used to be hard for me where people would say, hey, Pastor Kofi, if you're coming through our part of the country, if you need to crash somewhere, stay at the crib. And I used to be say, that's my, but it used to be hard for me to say it's okay for that. Some of y'all have blessed us so much that in the midst of you blessing me, y'all probably didn't even notice. I literally would go into other rooms and be crying. At one point when I used to do it, it was because I was like, I don't know if I deserve this. Right. And then sometimes I used to do it. It's now become, I cry sometimes because I say, yeah, I couldn't even imagine that. Like when I decided to give up, on having what the world says that I should want, that that you use people in my life to provide what I need and what I want. Right. I'm saying all this once again to get back to what we were talking about. Right. And all of us are worth more than monetary value. Exactly, Sister Monica. And I'm trying to get back to what I was talking about because now we got to get ready to take our leave so we can get on the road. But I just need you to hear this. You ready? You ready? Your wife is going to be somebody who challenges you because you live in a world, husband. You live in a world, father, right? Where the world does not believe that you deserve anything. And you have begun to believe them. And your wife, a real wife, I'm not talking about a woman. I'm not talking about a girlfriend. I'm not talking about somebody that ain't been trained, right? I'm talking about a wife. She's not going to allow you to ever be anything less than what you're supposed to be. My wife's energy is never going to allow me anything less. Matter of fact, including how I'm going to treat her, because how you treat me is going to be obviously how you treat everybody else. So you can't just talk to me any kind of way, Kofi. I don't care how you are upset you are. I don't care if I did you dirty right now, right? If I did you dirty, that's one thing, right? And I'll apologize and everything. I'm not talking about she's ever done anything extreme or anything like that. I'm just using examples, right? I don't care if I did you dirty. I'm not talking about she cheated and nothing. Like, we never had any of that. I just want to make that clear because some of y'all go to these extremes, right? Like, I don't care if I feel in my feelings, how about I say it like that she did me dirty. You are not just going to dress me like some woman in the street. First of all, you shouldn't address any woman in the street like that either. But you definitely ain't going to dress me like that. You hear what I'm saying? And that's what she should do. She should make sure that she holds you accountable. And guess what? If she's allowed to do that, guess what she's going to do? What's a man's number one need? Respect. Guess what your number two need is? Sex. And you'd be surprised that if she can hold you accountable to giving her number one and number two need, security and affection, you will get all the respect and sex that you desire. I know some people aren't, we're supposed to be too holy that we don't talk about sex. But I'm just saying, you fathers, you need that. Well, I'm talking to you. This is a call to fathers. If you need this, I promise you, give her the security and affection that is required, and she will give you all the respect and sex that you need. Am I lying? Somebody tell me if I'm lying. If I'm not lying, right? Now, if you once again though, here's the deal. Here's the deal. It has to be a wife. You keep talking about a woman, you keep talking about a girlfriend. I'm talking about a higher level in our culture. Wife. Wives do that. Stop talking about girlfriends. You know, I dated this girl for 5 years. We don't date. I walked down the aisle with her, and in your Bible, nobody walked down the aisle. Not once. They didn't wear a white dress. Not once. They didn't have a tuxedo on. Not once. That's not even your culture. Even biblically speaking, when you want to go there to use that canonical reference point, that's not even in your culture. Because the people who wrote that book, they are us. They didn't care about that. You care about that. But that's not what Yah says his desire is for marriage. That's not what Yah says his desire is for marriage. And in our culture, sex is marriage. Marriage is sex. You got to be pre-qualified for it. Wives are on a higher level than women in our culture. Women deserve extreme respect. Woman is a term of endearment. See, you come from a culture where somebody says, woman, blah, 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 and you go, woman? Who you think you talk about? Where we come from, if we say woman, we're saying it more like, woman, please. Because in our culture, to be a woman, you have to have gone through some stuff. Just like to be a man, you have to go through certain markers and things like that in your life to show that you've gone through the stuff that says that, yes, you deserve that mindset and that cultural reference point on your life because you're going to uphold a certain standard. We do the same thing for our women. But a wife, he who finds a wife, that's a special occasion. And many of you are just out here trying to find anything. But once again, this is a call to fathers. I hope that you realize now, as we've talked today, the necessity of a wife, the necessity of a mother. This also means that you must recognize as a spiritual father, you are supposed to sanctify her, put her to the side to where nothing gets to be like her. I say this all the time. I'll say it again. My wife, you would never hear me going in and talking negative about my wife. Right? I don't care if we're in the middle of whatever. You will never hear me personally start going in and talking negative about my wife. You want to know why? Because she's supposed to be set apart. She's supposed to be sanctified. That's mine. So my issues with her, they put to the side. You don't get to see those. Especially if I'm going to be a spiritual father to somebody. You can't be a spiritual father to everybody and y'all are always seeing mom and dad argue. That don't make no sense. Yeah, and you should be angry if I were to do that. Because it's against the word. And if we say we're going to be obedient to the word, then we should be obedient to the word. She's supposed to be sanctified, set to the side. Her ultimate responsibility is to be my wife. We've talked about the qualified and stuff like that for a wife over and over again, so I apologize. I got to actually get ready to take my leave in about 5 minutes, so I couldn't really begin to go there. But if you want to look at some stuff as far as, first of all, in our culture, what's a wife, look at how they're supposed to be trained. Look at how elder women are supposed to train them. Titus chapter 2. Look at how look at how they're supposed to be trained from when they're born, just like men are supposed to be trained, or fathers or husbands, are supposed to be trained. Look at Proverbs chapter 1, verse 8, that fathers, they give instruction, but mothers lay down the law. So therefore, if you're going to give instruction, father, it better be something that's powerful, because your wife's law that she does to protect your instruction is supposed to be based off of what you're laying down. If you ain't laying down nothing positive, how's she going to lay down something positive, right? How does she speak? Proverbs chapter 18, verse 21, it says, death and life is in the power of the tongue, and those that love it should eat the fruit thereof. Verse 22 says, So therefore, if you find somebody who speaks like that, you found a wife. When you find that, you obtain a favor, a righteous thing, and therefore can obtain favor from the Lord. So we can go on and on and on and on and on, right? We have recordings and stuff on conversation about marriage and husbands and wives and men and women on our YouTube channel. We'll have that stuff pop up when we do a brief shout out. If you're on TikTok, we're going to do a shout out in a second. Yeah, the old is to teach the young. How will they know, right? Like we were talking about yesterday. Why do you have, or yesterday, a couple days ago, we were talking about angry fathers. Why are a lot of our brothers out here angry? Why are a lot of our brothers out here frustrated and angry and upset? They're frustrated, they're angry, they're upset. They haven't had fathers to teach them the way. Right. So I wish I could, like, go into this every single time and answer like every single question. That's why we got to have stuff recorded. So you can always go back to the recordings. We do some of this stuff on Patreon as well. We do some of this stuff in our classes. We have a whole marriage class that we do. So I don't know if it'll be popping up again next semester, but we have, and when we do our classes for SOC University, marriage is one of the classes that we give. We do life coaching, marital coaching. We do that via donation. And if your donation is I can't afford it right now, then that's okay too. But there's a lot of different ways we can talk about it on a one-on-one session, whatever the case is, or even with somebody that's in your area. That's part of what we do as well. But a lot of us have not been given the tools, right? Especially when you live in a generation where you're supposed to have, watch this. We talked about this the other day with the rewards. What's the reward for being a father? There's more reward out there for having as many girls as possible than there is for being a father. There's a reward out there for planting your seed and not taking care. People go, man, whatever. We don't care that he not taking care of his children or whatever, but he get the baddest bees. This is how people talk. So if the reward is for having the baddest bees, and for girls even calling themselves bees, why would a man look for a girl or a woman, or especially a wife, if he's supposed to look for the baddest bee? This is a mindset that we have. We got to come out of it. We have to set our own standard and say that our standard is more powerful because it's really a standard that's higher than us. If men are trained to be dogs, then we can't be upset when women start acting like bees or even refer to themselves as bees. This is what society has done, because ultimately, as this overall series is called, the system is sus. It wants to treat us like animals, but then say, why do they act like animals? So you got to come out of the system. You got to come out of the world, and you got to come out of the beast. You have to come out of this governing body to be able to recognize, oh, there's more to what we're doing than this. Right? We got to come out of it. At some point, you got to stop being in a wicked system. I know you say, well, it's the only thing I know, or I'm afraid, or how am I going to survive? There's not one moment in your life that you've never survived. You wouldn't be listening to me if you hadn't survived everything. How you doing, Brother Kofi? If you had not survived every single thing you've been through, you would not even be listening to me. So stop talking about how you're going to survive if you leave the system. I'm not saying leave your job, this, now, whatever. Be obedient to the Holy Spirit. Pray. If you want to talk about some of this stuff, talk it through. We'll talk it through. But I'm not here, right? We got this recorded. I'm not here telling you, leave this, blah, blah, blah. This is not a prophetic word that I'm giving right now. This is a word that I need you to comprehend, that you are so stuck in the system thinking that that's the only way, and your children are being affected. Your sons are being affected. They will become the husbands. Your daughters are being affected. They will become the wives. We need to get back to a standard that's separate of this system. In their system, right? In their system, it's my body. I do whatever I want with it. In your system, you are accountable to everything you do with your body to somebody else. Did you catch that? We got to take our leave now. It's about to be 9:40. I promised 9:40 we were going to be done so we can start getting on the road, right? I just want to articulate that one more time. In their system, my body, my choice. In their system, who are you to tell me who I can sleep with? But in your system, you belong to one person and should only sleep with one person for your entire life. It's different. It's different. You can't be in that system. Your child, a system that says your body, your choice, and says that you can be anything you want to be, well, then you shouldn't be surprised when you can change yourself into whatever you want to. And your children get to tell you as a parent. And if you as a parent try to tell your child they're not supposed to, they started locking parents up now. You should not be surprised at this. But in the kingdom, hey, you as a parent, you have a responsibility to teach your child. You're going to have to figure out a way to make that work, because it's getting crazy out here. You can have devil worshipers come to the school and lay out pamphlets all over the place, but you better not have prayer in schools. All right, it's 9:40. I'm Thank you guys for being on with us. We appreciate you. Normally we would be on longer. If I have an opportunity somehow, some way to be on, I don't think I would today because we're going to be doing some traveling. But if I have an opportunity to be on here, I will do my best to come back on here. But we'll be back this evening at 8. And depending on where we are at the moment, I will try my best to give you guys a lot more, or at least get, maybe we can even continue this, whatever. Well, we'll see. But thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate you. We're praying that you guys are safe. Pray for our safety as we continue to travel on these roads. If you're on TikTok, stick around just for a hot second. We're still going to do our shout out. If you've never done the shout out with us before, we think you'll enjoy it. And we honor your presence here today. The shout out is a way of us letting you know certain things that we do outside of just the live sessions, or even if you want to know more about our live sessions. But we do things all around the diaspora. Our goal is to ultimately make sure that we become the best versions of ourselves. And so we thank you guys for listening in and tuning in. We appreciate you. So just stick around for a second. If you're on TikTok, to everybody who's listening to us, whether you listen to us live, watching this later on, coming from a different platform and watching this, we appreciate you so much. Please check out my wife, the Honorable Maya, on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish. Not A&D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She's a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. We're thankful and grateful to you guys for being on. Thank you for your support. If you're on TikTok, once again, stick around for the shout out. But to everybody, please remember as always that you are loved. You're necessary, you're majestic, you're fearfully and wonderfully made, and you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in this system no longer have to be of it. Shalom, family. Peace. And if I don't see you this evening, early Shabbat Shalom to you. All right. To everybody who's still with us